Welcome to From Students to Licensed Professionals, Protecting Your Rights.
Welcome to From Students to Licensed Professionals, Protecting Your Rights with attorney James Kosnett. James has represented students, parents, and families for decades, helping them navigate academic misconduct allegations, expulsions, special education disputes, and other high-stakes school issues. I'm Lisa Mosby, your host, and today we're talking about what happens when a child is suspended from school and what parents need to understand right away. Hi, James. Welcome back.
Hi, Lisa. Good to see you today.
Thank you. James, why do schools suspend students and what kinds of situations usually lead to a suspension?
Well, you could say drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Drugs, pot or any kind of drugs, that will often lead to immediate confiscation, the suspension. Sometimes the police will be called. Certainly, the child will be taken aside to the principal's office, possibly searched, their backpack definitely searched, empty their pockets, their locker likely to be searched, and they'll probably be asked a lot of questions before the parents are even aware that their child is being questioned. And of course, the parents are upset about that, and they say, can they do that? And the answer is yes, they can. They can ask. Now, your child doesn't have to answer. Child could say, could you please call mom or dad? I'd rather wait to answer questions till my parent is here. Just the way I tell an adult, if they're arrested by the police, ask for your lawyer, I tell the parents that are my minor clients, we don't want to sound like a smart aleck, okay? Like a wise guy, ask for your lawyer. I don't want the child asking for his or her lawyer. So ask for the parent. The parent can ask for the lawyer, but the child should ask for the parent. And that's all they have to do. Say, I'd rather have mom or dad here first. And if you tell your child to say that, that's perfectly fine, and they'll be in better shape. And because sometimes by the time the case comes to me, the kid's written out the whole thing and confessed and signed. Makes it tough for me. So, okay, so that's drugs. Sex would be, they've done some kind of sexual harassment, typically boy on girl, but it could be both ways, where or girl on girl or boy on boy, where there's some kind of sexual activity going on, either in a hallway, a locker room, some kind of harassment. It could be involuntary. It could be consensual. That doesn't matter. Just because it's consensual, it's still against the rules to carry on. And at school, obviously. So again, they're taken aside. They're asked questions. They're often asked to put down in your own words what happened, and sometimes sign it. And then, so it's better not to say anything. And rock and roll, I'm using that because it's an expression, but I'll refer to that as some kind of fighting or mischief, some kind of activity where they get into a fight, they're rocking, they're rolling, they're getting into some kind of fisticuffs or some kind of activity that's dangerous, violent, what have you. And again, they're taken aside, and the same kind of process goes on.
James, let's get into the definition of this a little bit. What is a parent actually being told when a school issues a suspension, and how much of that decision has already been made?
Well, the principal is entitled to make that decision right away. The principal or whoever the principal delegates as his or her disciplinarian. Sometimes it's the vice principal or some other title. They have different titles, but whoever makes that decision, I'm going to suspend this child. And the parent is informed to usually, please come and pick up your child. He or she has been suspended. And sometimes it's at the end of the school day. Sometimes the kid has been held for hours in a room somewhere. And if their phone has been taken from them, they can't even use their phone. A lot of times the authorities will ask the child for the code to open their phone. I wouldn't give that out. I'd say, can I please talk to my mom? Can I please talk to my dad? Well, what's the code? Sure, you could talk to your mom and dad, but I need to look in your phone. What's the code? Can I please talk to my parent? I've got nothing to say till my parent gets here. Then you protect yourself because there's all kinds of stuff in that phone, probably, that you don't want
Pictures.
anyone to see. And it may not even have anything to do with the case you're being called in to the principal's office on or what have you, but it could even be worse. You don't want that phone is private. If you have a phone, you keep that combination secret and you don't give that out to anybody. And even the U.S. Supreme Court has held that you don't have to give that code out.
So, what rights does a student have once a suspension is issued?
So once a suspension is issued, a suspension can be up to 5 days without a recommendation for expulsion. If they want to keep the child out more than 5 days, they have to recommend expulsion. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's say it's 1 day, 2, 3, 4, or 5 days. The principal will call in the parent. The parent will come in. Sometimes the principal will meet with the parent right then and there. Sometimes they'll say, can we come in tomorrow morning and have a conference about this? Because the principal might want to investigate it a little bit further, get a few more facts. And the parent might want to have the spouse present as well. And sometimes one parent is available at that moment, but the other parent isn't. So you're entitled to a conference with the principal. When I say principal, I mean the principal or their delegate, such as the vice principal in charge of student discipline or whoever it is delegate. You're entitled to a conference. You're entitled to know, what's my child been accused of? What are the facts and circumstances? What are you going to do? You're going to keep him or her home? Keep him or her out of school. I'm to keep them home for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more days. And you don't have, as a parent, a lot of rights in that regard. You don't have the right to an attorney, to witnesses, to a hearing, to cross-examine the witnesses against you, to produce witnesses of your own, to produce evidence of your own. These are rights you have under the law if your child is being expelled. But if your child is just being suspended, it's the kind of minor discipline that doesn't trigger a whole lot of rights. You can ask, they can tell you, you can argue for your child. You could say, little Johnny didn't do that, or so-and-so hit him first. He was just defending himself. Or you could offer up your defense for your child. But in the end, it's up to the principal to make the final decision, and that's going to be made, and there's not too much you can do about it. And if you want to hire an attorney purely because of a suspension of 5 days or less, I don't think it's worth it. I think you might as well save your money because it's not really going to help to have the attorney. The attorney really can't do anything that you can do. The attorney can't go to court. The attorney can't do all of the rights that I enumerated before, to cross-examine and to produce his or her own witnesses in the child's defense and so on. Now, what happens if the principal wants to suspend the child for more than 5 days? Then they're going to recommend an expulsion. Then all your rights kick in. You'll be entitled to a full file with all the evidence that's against your child. You'll see it. You'll be entitled to a hearing at which the principal won't be the deciding person. The principal will be the prosecutor, if you will. The principal will be the one who's saying, I want this child expelled, and here's why. And present the evidence and present witnesses. And if there's a knife or a picture of a knife, and present that. This is what we found in his backpack. And then there'll be typically three people, maybe if we're talking about a high school student, maybe the principal of the middle school and a principal of the elementary school, and maybe the principal of another high school, or someone from the district office. And those three people aren't involved in that school that's bringing the action against the student. They may or may not know the student, but they don't really have a connection with the facts that are behind this problem that's going on right now. And so they're fair judges. They haven't made up their minds, and they're supposed to hear the evidence and decide whether or not the child should be expelled based on the evidence that's presented.
And then, James, what do parents usually get wrong about how suspensions are handled?
Well, often they think that they're entitled to court action, or they're entitled to, well, this is outrageous, this is wrong, and there's not much you can do about it. Like I said, not unless there's a further recommendation for expulsion and it's more serious. A suspension itself, it's not a great thing, but it shouldn't be overly worrisome. It's typically not reported, for example, to a college to which you might be applying for admission, the way an expulsion would be reported and on the record. I think that if you're a parent, you should listen to what the school has to say, then talk privately with your child, hear his or her side of things, then have another conference with the school in which you advance your child's cause, whether it to be that, well, that wasn't his fault or her fault. This is what really happened. Or, yes, but he did it. He was very sorry about it. There's been a lot of problems at home. Grandma's been ill or whatever, or he just got kicked off the baseball team and he was feeling very down and he reacted in anger and he's sorry, it won't happen again, and so forth. And could he come back? Sometimes they'll shorten the suspension. If it's a suspension for 3 days, maybe, and the conference on day 2, the parent can convince the principal to let him back. And the principal can change his or her mind and let the child back, because it's more informal. It's more subject to the principal's discretion. If it's going to be a multi-day suspension, the parent should find out, well, is there some homework he can do or something he could do at home, or little independent study or assignments? Can I have that? Can I have his books? Can we? And then you can occupy them and they won't fall so far behind, because the way schools are today, every day is important, and they might miss something that is something's going to build on to the next lesson, especially in something like math, where every step is built on your understanding and mastery of the previous step. If you fall behind in something like calculus or geometry or whatever, you're going to be in big trouble. You might have trouble the rest of the term and on from there. So you want to make sure that you can keep up with the curriculum, and you're entitled to that. You're entitled to get some help so that your child isn't totally falling behind, even though they're at home.
And James, are there some specific ways that families can respond that may make the situation harder to resolve?
Well, I don't think it's a good idea to react emotionally. I think it's better to be very calm, not to make judgments. Get information in before you decide. Get all the information you can from the side of the school. And privately, get all the information you can from the side of your child. Tell them, look, I'm trying to help you. You got to tell me, you got to level with me. What is it? What happened? What did you do? What did he do? What did she do? And so on and so forth. And ask questions, and then put it all together and then go in and be the best advocate you can for your child, except, like I said, if there's an expulsion involved. If it's an expulsion involved, then you want to let the attorney handle it.
For sure. James, what options do parents have if they believe that the suspension was not justified?
Well, they have that conference with the principal. And if they really feel that there's serious discrimination going on, possibly racial or religious, ethnic discrimination, or if this is a continuing problem that may be involving bullying and so on, and the administration just has a blind eye to what's happening or is really prejudiced against them or their child, then they could go to the superintendent's office and they can complain, because the principal's boss is the superintendent of schools. And you can make an appointment, or you could go right down to principal's office and sit there until someone will see you. And then you can explain why you feel the way you do. And they'll look into it and they'll get back to you. You don't need a lawyer to do that.
It's all just a discussion. It's a conversation. It's an awareness that we're bringing to the parents that something is out of alignment. Would that be a good summation?
That's exactly right. That's right.
Perfect. Well, I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for your insights, James.
My pleasure.
Folks, that's it for today's episode of From Students to Licensed Professionals, Protecting Your Rights with James Kosnett. If your child has been suspended or is facing a school disciplinary issue, visit educationlawyer.org to learn more and schedule a free consultation. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.